Well, the fun don't stop. We've already seen Rival up against Sobek. Now we get the opportunity to take a look at NRG going up against Mouse, who have a roster change.
That's right. It's going to be Spudio in the dual lane alongside Dardez. Jermaine moving on to do some stuff at work or whatever he decided to do. So good luck to him, of course. He's been a mainstay in the SPL for a long, long time. And it's going to be weird seeing Dardez alongside someone else.
Well, the one thing to mention is that, as you can see by the standings, Rival moved up, and I think I'm 100% for the week so far on my predictions.
Yeah. Are you now?
If you do want to see those predictions, by the way, you can tune in on a Monday to watch me destroy both aggro and tackle on the Esports Weekly show.
That's weird that you say that, because on Esports Weekly, I actually have the highest percentage of picks so far.
That's because I didn't realize week 1 counted, and I don't care about week 1 because week 1's like the worst week to try and predict.
Wow, you're really sounding like the Cleveland Cavaliers right now.
Week 2,
Game 1 doesn't matter.
Week 2, I was 100%. Week 3 so far, I believe I'm still 100%.
Okay, we'll see.
Make sure you tune in on Mondays anyway. You'll hear us all talk about everything that happened the previous week and the future week to come to do with esports. But now, it's all about NRG and how well they could be this year.
And I think they're in a really good spot overall. I mean, this team is just they have the potential, I still think, to be the best team in the world. I really feel that way about this squad. I think that Yammyn's playing at a very high level, adapting, is still trying to chase those first few weeks at Season 5 where he looked really, really dominant and hasn't looked quite as dominant since then, but still looked really, really good by every stretch. Don't get me wrong. EmilZy starting to synergize well with this squad. The one that I'm kind of waiting for a little bit more from, surprisingly enough, has kind of been emilitoo. And emilitoo was the guy in Season 4. I felt like he was the best player on this roster in Season 4. Hasn't been so far yet in Season 5, and I know it's only a matter of time. I just think that's what NRG's waiting on.
That's fair. The one thing to mention as well is that NRG have a real good opportunity to get some good wins under their belt here. They're against Mouse, first of all. They've only played 3 sets, whereas both Dig and Rival both played 5 now, including the last Rival one. So 2 quick wins for NRG will catapult them to near the top, especially when it's against Mouse and SK, which they're expecting to beat.
They've gotten through the toughest part of their early schedule. Now is where you expect them to gain some momentum to get ready for the second half of the summer split. And that is important because normally you feel these, you should pencil these in as wins for NRG overall just on paper. But if you lose games like this, you lose a lot of momentum going into the second half. It can shake your confidence a lot. So these are kind of trap games in a way where you can't take them lightly. You have to come in prepared. You have to come in ready, because these days in the SPL, there are no free wins. It just doesn't exist.
Come in prepared, but then you don't always expect a roster change, and that's what's happened with Mouse here. With Jermaine now going, they've got Spudio in there. He's done good things on Victoria's Secret. Been with them for the past year, since June last year. Problem is that he's on a new team, and this Mouse team is one that is a little bit unorthodox in terms of their picks and bans.
That it is, but one thing has stayed the same for them is that Jermaine was playing Hunters the entire time. So you'd think Spudio will get a chance to do that. And honestly, I think it's time for this guy to take over as the star for Mousesports, and largely has in my mind already in Season 5. BigManTingz has been a real standout in the mid lane during Season 5 for Mousesports. Jermaine really wasn't doing his old Jermaine stuff anyways. It definitely hurts Mousesports, don't get me wrong. But I'm not ready to bury this team because of that. I think that as long as Dardez keeps his mentality, it'll be difficult, I think, for him to be in the same mindset without his longtime dual lane partner there. How will that affect Dardez's play? That honestly worries more than the ADC level play coming out of Mousesports right now.
Yeah, trust in the dual lane is an important factor that will come into this one. Let's get into picks and bans then, see how these break down between the two. NRG looking like they will be the first pick here as well. We've seen a lot of conversations still going on about what's better, first or second pick. Normally by this point of the year, you kind of identify that, but I don't think that's been found just yet.
No, I think that there are still advantages and disadvantages on each side. I think there are enough gods that are very viable right now that second pick is usually better. Usually first pick is better when there's one god that's just way better than every other god.
And you can't ban it because there's other things to ban.
Right, and I don't think that exists right now, and I think that there are a lot of top-tier level gods that will see a lot of play, and so that's why I think second pick is usually a bit better right now.
Double Guardian taken up by NRG. Both focuses, in fairness, towards Cherryo. It's Athena and Kabrak, two gods that he loves to run in the jungle, trying to limit some of Mouse's options here.
I like that decision. First picking the Cerberus. Overall, Cerberus starting to see a real big resurgence, isn't he? I mean, he was really, really dominant when he first was available for competitive play, then fell off a little bit, and people are really starting to come back to him, and I think he's incredible.
I think he's a very good save feature against healers, too, because he does strip away some of that healing overall. It's going to be impactful in those games. Mouse going to go with Sobek and Rama. That feels like a dual lane just showed up straight away.
Are we sure that Jermaine isn't playing with the first pick Rom? Like that's
well, it's not Jermaine because it's a Sobek that I think is going to be in support. So Dardez may have to go back to classic, true, tried, traditional Guardians.
That's right. He might have to. Could be for Nika in the solo lane still. Wouldn't be surprised. We see a lot of Cerberus Sobek lanes these days as Thoth locked in by NRG pretty early on here. This is a pick that we're starting to see a little bit more of overall throughout, is just this ability to wait until the mid to late game stages. Zero's proved, I think, at Masters Land that the early game hunters and mid aren't a necessity by any stretch. You can play for the late game mid mages and do great things, and Thoth can do that very well.
I have a feeling if that Hebo is correct from Mouse here, then that is going into the jungle for Cherryo.
It is, 100%. He's been playing a lot of Hebo jungle. This is kind of one of his more traditional selections these days in the jungle, and I think it can work. It can apply Divine Ruin often with how low the cooldown is on Water Cannon, but it's still a little bit risky because you have to chunk through a lot of that healing very, very quickly. Burst damage is one way to do it, but if you don't get off to an early start, if you fall behind early, then that healing will just outpace you the entire game.
Into the caravans is Jubalonki and Ul taken away, so focus towards the Hunters. NRG a little bit worried about that BigManTingz Ul in the mid lane that could be ran here, especially with that Hobwa is going to be in the jungle. That's what they believe too. So options a little bit more limited. Agni still available though.
Agni's still available. Raijin's still available. Still some good options in the mid lane for sure. Neath is going to be the ban, so that means that Giannis is also still on the table. A couple things that Mousesports has options to go to here. They're probably looking for a little bit more CC in their draft. That's why this Neath ban I think is very, very, very smart. Hebo has some CC, but you want to set up for him a little bit better. You want to be able to peel for him, and Hu Yi fits that bill. Clearly, NRG is ready for what Mousesports is throwing at him because it seems like they had their nose on Double Hunter from the beginning.
Did that banter come back towards Mouse? Is that what just happened here?
Yeah.
It's going to be a Ho Yi mid lane here. Or a Rama, more than likely the Ho Yi though. NRG going to go with the Hun Batz for more than likely adapting here. The rise of Batz.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Cuvo Fred crushed people with it, and that's what's going on.
Is that what it is?
Feels like it to me. I mean, Hun Batz has seen very few changes. There haven't been a lot of itemization changes towards him, and all of a sudden he's starting to look a lot better, and I really feel like it's a Cuvo just dominated a couple games with him, and everyone was like, oh yeah, Hun Batz is pretty good, huh?
Online, Hun Batz has always been amazing. Fear No Evil causes a lot of problems. At LAN, it can be a little bit more telegraphed. It's easy to respond to that Fear No Evil a little bit more so, and I think that's one of the reasons why teams have slowly skirted away from him, but now we come back.
It's about time, man. I think that Hun Batz is such a dynamic character. His playstyle is flexible. You can build him a million different ways. I think that he's definitely a fun assassin to watch and one that can be really, really potent in the right hands. And by the way, adapting is the right hands.
Nothing too crazy from either of these comps though, aggro. We've decided one way or another. Is there one comp that you feel is a little bit stronger on paper?
I think the Hun Batz versus the Hebo is a little bit scary for the Hun Batz, but I still feel like the Guan U sustain, the Cerberus control is going to be too much for Mouse to handle.
So NRG obviously favorites going into this one. What did Mouse need to do this game?
Get Cherryo off to a comfortable start. He's probably going to go for that Warlock staff, let him stack it up very slowly, get him to the mid to late game, and Cherry can make plays for you there.
Well, let's find out. The casters are standing by. It's NRG versus Mouse, game one.
Hello, guys. It's Sam and Taco. We're over here now. We started over now we're over here. We're going to cast the game. This one should be interesting. Mouse taking on NRG. Mouse with a new hunter named Spudio. Should be interesting. Another minor league call-up. Jermaine stepping aside from Pro Smite and going in a different direction. And I only heard the beginning of what the desk was talking about, but I'm very positive alongside Aggro saying, real talk, Dardez is the one that's been shining in this duo. It's been a while since we really saw Jermaine stand up, so I'm cautiously optimistic.
I think Jermaine even himself admitted later on Twitter when he was announcing his departure from competitive play that he didn't feel as focused towards competitive and didn't feel like he was necessarily paying it as much attention as his teammates were. So out of respect for them, which is very respectful to do as a player, I believe he chose to step down, giving his team an opportunity to pull up somebody new, somebody he thinks could be a refreshing factor for these guys, and I like it. And speaking of Mouse, I wanted to take note of their current composition. I think that their draft is definitely playing more towards their strong suits. I'm not sure about if it's actually going to be successful against NRG, but I like the thought process they have going.
Well, let's take a look at how it's going to go. Let us know in Mixer chat who you think is going to win as we jump up into our first matchup, Energy, or our second matchup of the day, rather. Our first game of said match, Mouse and Energy. And there's Spudio, rocking the ROM. And like I said earlier, I've been such a fan of Dardez. Dardez and BigManTingz have been the focal point of this roster in Season 5, full stop. Watching what the former support player now in the middle lane has been able to do, and the support has been nice. And what hasn't been nice for Energy is emilZy losing all of his HP there, but the Hunter went over to help out the jungle. Or what's going on here? maniaKK started at the red buff with the Hunter and then TP'd over to the right-hand side. That was a very interesting start from Energy.
I think the Energy maybe just wanted to guarantee that emilitoo could secure the red buff, no problems asked. And, well, I think that helps them to a certain extent, because anytime you're against a Sylvanus in lane and the ROM also, they really just combine super well together in terms of establishing lane pressure. I think no matter what, emilZy ends up taking a pretty chunk of his health out. So at least that way he's able to get the paralyzing spit. Or, yeah, he's able to do the paralyzing spit.
Yeah.
That way he can get some form of lane clear going. So by the time emilitoo comes back into the lane, he won't miss out on any of the creeps.
Shoutouts to the observer there. I believe that's Doug on the 1s and 2s, pointing out that Guan Yu actually is leading his opponent in solo lane in experience, level 3 now, because he splits that red buff. So, you know, this is the beautiful thing about our game, is that Aggro and I were joking that 21,000 different variables is probably lowballing it as far as different things going on in Smite. And here we are, halfway through the entire year, and players are still figuring out ways to optimize their approach to the game. maniaKK just ahead of Nika right now.
Even if slightly, it still makes a bit of a difference for those.
Don't let Tully hear you talk down about slight leads in the solo lane.
Oh, yeah.
Tully will sit there and break
it's
down.
the same way for Hunters, too, in Duo.
He's got 2 extra minions, so he's going to win the game and be right about it.
I get that feeling sometimes, too, on the ADC role, trust me. It really does depend on how you choose to play your lead and not necessarily letting your lead play you.
Hey.
maniaKK showing some restraint, I think, focusing the wave as opposed to maybe looking for some of that Tallow Assault Shred against Nika. Doesn't really want to risk being pulled underneath that T1 tower. We've already seen one attempt from Nika, too. It was off the market, hit onto a creep instead, but maniaKK certainly being cautious.
Nika able to turn things around. Now he's kind of ahead of maniaKK. Very curious. Probably a couple of minions lost a tower during that transition, I suppose. Other positives for that start, letting your Hunter start, or letting your carry, excuse me, start with the red buff. Certainly a good thing when you're up against Dardez' Sylvanus, character very adept at clearing the wave. So you're looking at Dardez and Spudio to likely clear the wave and then go ahead and invade the enemy jungle. And if you've already taken care of the red, well, there's nothing to invade.
The big thing for me, though, is Mousesports Duo get a nice invade off on the purple buff, but then they don't really look to play off of that later on. I mean, the first buff respawn cycle, the early game's probably a little bit more in favor of Mouse in terms of just raw damage numbers. And if Cherryo or BigMan were to rotate over, I could have definitely seen a possible first blood opportunity for Mouse off of Energy's buffs.
Isn't Ram a very poor level 1, 2, 3 Hunter, though?
He's deceiving in that way, but the Astral Arrow bonus damage builds up, and it can give you a pretty decent edge over some of the other Hunters. Also, that attack speed steroid, the slow, even his rollaway. Like, it's all just a really solid kit, and I think initially he was viewed that way. Actually, hold that thought, because Yammyn going to have to get away from some of that hi-rez damage.
Yeah, the missed knockup a really big deal. Adapting, not level 5 just yet. maniaKK has the ultimate, so does Nika, but adapting will not. Hebo in the jungle versus adapting's Batz. It's a very interesting matchup because I don't think anybody wins. I think if Batz has the ultimate, Hebo loses, and if he doesn't, or Hebo has beads, then Batz loses. I think it's very severely in either direction.
The main thing for me about this Batz versus the hi-rez is Cherryo won't have too much to avoid the just so much crowd control from Energy. Like, their entire giraffe, every single member has some sort of an interrupt factor going on for themselves. So that's why I kind of want to see Mousesports just looking to play stupidly aggressive in the early game. Their composition is fairly forgiving for that, because of how much damage their gods can do in comparison to those of Energy. Energy kind of need the execution factor to go forward, but Mouse can just jump right in.
Just go right for it. Cherryo, well, you know, it's funny. I was going to say this dual lane known for that, but not so much. The Dardez with his old hunter used to be very aggressive. Now it's Spudio on the table. Now we have seen some of Spudio in the SML, minor league player called up to the pro league. What can you tell us about Spudio and how he's going to act in lane?
I think that Spudio definitely introduces a new flavor towards Mouse. From Jermaine, we didn't really get a good look at Jermaine Dardez, the Bruise Brothers lane that's been so infamous for quite some time. I mean, those guys laned together for what, like 4 years, I believe Dardez said. So that's a really long time to spend with one person. And now it's going to be up to Dardez to, I think, really assimilate Spudio into this new hunter lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, I am totally not concerned about Dardez whatsoever. He's been playing better than Jermaine for a long time, if you ask me. This is... Man, I don't know. Dardez, I think, is unhappy to see his friend go in a different direction, but kind of very happy to finally have broken it off. I don't know. I think he was going through the motions. It's been a while since Dardez and Jermaine really enjoyed a brunch, put it that way. But I think he's very happy to have a new hunter, new carry player.
Why did you just describe that like a breakup?
Because that's what
Like
it
a
seems
bad
like.
breakup.
No, it seems like...
Bro, she left me on red.
It seems like Dardez was in that relationship just sitting there like, you didn't even like get out? Why are we together? Like, I guess at this point we've been doing it for so long. You know my parents. I know your parents. We hang out every year at Hanukkah. Sure, no big deal. And then finally something happens. I didn't have to break up with her. She left on her own accord. Awesome. Excellent. Bring me a hunter that I can win games with. Mousesports, please bring me somebody that will show up to scrims. Thank you. Dardez, BigManTingz, and a new hunter. This is a team that's got good things ahead of them. I'm very excited because BigManTingz and Dardez had great things going. EmilZy trying to escape those players stuck in the Suns. Dardez and BigManTingz combining, helping out. Spudio, first blood going to Mousesports.
Bit of a yikes there for EmilZy. I think he was trying to contest those oracles, make sure that Mouse didn't get full control of them, since emilitoo and EmilZy had just confirmed them prior to that respawn. But first blood, not going to be too devastating because of the fact that it was on EmilZy, and even though he's slightly behind Dardez, that's where you expect him to be. And adapting, however, using the purification, but he's now looking for the turnaround.
Oh, I thought we were going to see the dead Habwa. Cherryo still uses the ultimate defensively. Interesting play from everybody involved right there, I think. The late beads, the ultimate, the non-follow, just everything kind of went awry for both teams. And I think that's one of those scenarios where you go, all right, you screwed up, I screwed up, let's forget about it and move on.
Habwa's water spout has always felt like one of the more difficult abilities to predict at a competitive level because you're so uncertain all the time of just when that Habwa is trying to knock you up to look for the crushing wave right after.
Well, it comes down to the one of the more complex parts of the game is the discussion of pre and post fire delay. And basically what that is how long does it take your character to do a movement before the actual ability is fired? That's where the idea of auto attack or basic attack cancel comes from. And when it comes down to Habwa, the third ability, the water spout, activates almost immediately. There's very little startup, so that's why you always get surprised. But the punishment on the other side is the post-fire delay is incredibly high. So you go for it, you're always going to knock him up. But if you do miss, you're sitting there with your hand in the air, stood still for a minute waiting for everybody to punch you.
Well, it's not just that, but also Yammyn. Yammyn has so much range on Cherryo that I think is going to be really difficult for Mouse to close the distance on. There's only so much that Nika can afford to face tank, and I don't think that Dardez is really going to have enough chances to play a frontlining factor as much as he is going to be looking for the peeling potential. He's going to be there in the mid to late just to knock somebody up if necessary, but outside of that, very rough for a Sylvanus into NRG's current draft.
I do like BigManTingz pick here, though. It's interesting. Somewhere Death Panther's sitting there going, so you called up a minor league player and you played Ho-Yi mid and it wasn't me. What's going on here? But I like the Ho-Yi pick because of the giant slow that might let Cherryo join the conversation.
I like saying BigManTingz on the Ho-Yi because way back in the day, and I hate pulling an aggro here, but when I used to be on Dignitas and saw BigManTingz playing the Ho Yi, he really enjoyed Hunters. He's always admitted, if you asked him, that support was never really his calling card when it came to Smite. He definitely enjoyed the ADC or the mid lane role infinitely more, and I think that's what makes BigManTingz such a potent player this season, is because of the fact that he is so versatile.
I think that a lot of people watch his... When I watched him play support, I noted that he had good instincts. He wasn't a poor support player, but he never sat there and made #1 on my list, really. Watching him play this mid lane has been an absolute treat. And I mean, I speak to Aggro every now and then. He pretends to be my friend, and he was talking about, like, look, man, he's doing all the right things that a mid laner needs to do. He's just playing the mid lane correctly, and to see a guy make that swap is impressive.
Something really interesting, though, that I just noticed is Cherryo's itemization choices early on for a Habwa in the jungle, going into the Warlock staff as opposed to a Bancroft's Talon.
Yeah, we've seen him do this, like, all the time. And me and Aggro complain about it, like, all the time. But then it works out all the time. So what are we complaining about? But I think the core, you know, the core conversation is like, why go Warlock staff on a character that you want to make an early impact with? Especially in the jungle.
I think that's the concerning factor that I have for him right now is, sure, you get that large swing of health that can be beneficial up against gods like the Guan Yu or the Humbats trying to full kit commit to you. But
I like that.
There's the problem to also consider that you are missing out on a lot of early game damage that kind of is one of the main reasons why so many people view Habwa as a heavy frustration factor. He's all about snowballing the early game and just riding that wave through to the end.
I like that. You buy a Bancroft on Hebo, and he ganks mid lane here. But because he has 17 stacks on his Warlock staff, he's got to look for the cheeky knock-up over the wall and hope his teammates can do it. That knock-up is doing a lot more damage with a more traditional build.
Ooh.
Oh, the ultimate use hits emilZy, the pull, Mousesports, one step ahead of NRG. And that's the second part of the conversation.
Dardez?
Dardez, sure. The second part of the conversation was when you have your teammates, you don't have to be the one-shot mechanic. Hebo Jungle is a pub-stomping character that when you see in ranked will just delete you. But you've got a team around you. You don't have to do that. One pick. Mousesports looking for the objective. Yammyn shows up, pushed out away with no ultimate available for the mid lane Thoth. That means Mouse feel comfortable, but emilitoo and adapting not gonna let them feel so comfy. Cherryo falls to the hand of the monkey. The shots from Spudio not gonna find emilitoo whatsoever. Third one does. Roll forward. Spudio got him. Welcome to the Pro League because he immediately gets punished. And that's how Hunter 1v1s go.
A little bit of a helping hand from BigManTingz there. Can't really qualify that as a solo kill.
I didn't see it.
But, oh man, adapting. Not going to be enjoying that one. BigManTingz probably going to pay for his transgressions. And sure enough, Yammyn with the final judgment to take him out. But BigManTingz with that nice bounce off the wall, just destroying Adapting's health. More importantly, though, NRG managing to keep Mousesports off the Gold Fury.
Yeah, that's the big win there is NRG actually kind of... I guess it's a wash. Nobody really wins that fight, but since Mousesports don't successfully get the Gold Fury, NRG, in theory, win the fight because they prevent the objective from going down.
There's a healthy spread of early and some late game potential for Mouse, but I think that NRG definitely hit the nail on the head in terms of drafting a composition that you want to prosper in the mid to late. I mean, it's going to be so difficult for Mouse to continue to find moments that they can actually capitalize and punish on, like what we saw happening to emilZy, who was just killed by associating with adapting there in the mid lane.
Gang affiliated. For the next like 5 to 8 minutes, NRG should run this game. They've got the Humbats and the Guan Yu, and honestly, Humbats Guan Yu Thoth meeting up in the mid game is terrifying, and that further exacerbates the punishment that can be doled out towards Cherryo's Warlock staff build. And again, I think the conversation that we had on the desk, if you're just joining us for match number 2, is very poignant here. Cherryo. Taco and I were talking about how the draft for Obey last game was infinitely better than their opposition, but their opposition still won the game because math exists on paper, but how do you do on the battlefield? And I think that's what it is with this Warlock staff build. It's objectively slow. It's not what we like to see, but Cherryo consistently performs with it, so we can address the conversation and talk about it, but I don't know if I can criticize it.
Speaking of, we might get a chance to see it hard at work here because Adapting choosing to use that Fear No Evil just to force reset Mouse from the Gold Fury, and that's all it takes. One Humbot's ultimate because no one wants to stick around for the rest of that energy rotation. I'm also looking towards the mid lane right now too because Yammyn and BigManTingz, they've both been participants of every single one of their team's kills.
Yep.
The main difference though is that Yammyn probably has a significantly easier time farming as opposed to BigMan, who, if he goes towards the wave to clear it, Yammyn can just poke him pretty easily. So BigMan's forced to kind of just sit there and wait, whereas Yammyn, he clears the wave, he backs, he goes, takes Harpies, he goes somewhere else for farm. But BigMan, because he's stuck on his tower line, unless somebody is there with him, almost always going to be losing out on just a little bit of XP compared to Yammyn.
Certainly true, and you can see about a half a level lead going to the Thoth player because of that. But 16-20 into this one, and things are looking very bright for Mousesports. They have a slight lead. 700 gold is not something I necessarily call a lead, but I think this is one of the more lopsided matchups that we've had. A high-end team versus a low-end team with a brand new Hunter player. And seeing Mousesports go toe-to-toe with NRG this long into the game, I think is a very, very, very positive sign for them and their fans.
This feels a lot more like that calm before the storm sort of moment, though, especially knowing NRG's history when it comes to that. The 15-minute NRG trademark, that was what it used to always be known for. It was the fact that Adapting and these guys just popped off once the 15-minute mark hit, and suddenly what looked like a relatively even game just explodes into like a 12,000 gold lead in favor of NRG, 10,000 experience, and you just don't know where to keep up from. And granted, I don't think that NRG have managed to maintain that same level of pressure throughout the years. It's very hard to keep it, considering that people get better eventually. Teams do progress, same as you. But NRG are still, it just really bodes that fear of lying in wait. And I think that that's more discomforting than anything else NRG could have thrown at Mouse.
See, I'm really positive about Cherryo and BigManTingz. I've loved Cherryo's. Now I know I like Hebo jungle in general, sure, but just being completely honest, Cherryo's Hebo jungle has been very successful relatively compared to what other Mousesports have done. And BigManTingz on I don't care. I like watching BigManTingz every damn game. Adapting an ult, Cherryo uses the beads to get away from it. No problem just there. Dardez off the mark with the grab. Initiation of energy deflated by Mouse.
But they still got Cherryo's beads, and that's a pretty big win within itself. Adapting only used his blink, and that'll be up like 60 seconds before those beads are. And I think that that's always going to be more favorable to the monkey as opposed to the Habois. So Cherryo will certainly have to mind his pathing throughout these jungle corridors. This could also potentially be an opportunity for Mouse, though, if they wanted to look towards that Gold Fury yet again. They've kind of been toying around with the idea of it and just pulling, seeing what the response is going to be out of energy. Now that that Fear No Evil is actually on cooldown, I'd like to see Mouse maybe look to bait.
Yeah, that was every time this Fear No Evil goes down, Mouse should be thinking about what is the play that we can make, because Fear No Evil is the cornerstone of this composition. NRG are going to look to play off of Adapting's ultimates, whether a blink precedes it or not. They're going to look to play off of that ult. So with that ultimate down, whether it's look for a pick, a kill, a tower, a Gold Fury, do something is what I implore Mouse to do, because that's the widest opening. That said, Adapting's ultimate's back up, window closed.
4-man grouping, though, from NRG. Thought for a second there that emilitoo was going to try and pull the Gold Fury himself, but opts to go back to lane instead. Spudio doing a nice job, still managing to stay even, and the only real difference between these two hunters is their build paths. emilitoo going for the bridge item a little bit later than what we're used to seeing it. Typically it's Executioner and Nika switching places, but in this circumstance, I think the Emil just wanted some more attack speed and a slight boost of the damage.
I like it because we're in an extended laning phase. Most games at 20 minutes, the laning phase is over. And Ichabal is an item. You're more the carry expert than I am. Ichabal strikes me as a laning phase item. It's when you want to box the enemy hunter. When it comes time to team fight, there's usually just a better choice. Executioner, or even in the crit if you want to build. So in the extended laning phase, I think that's why we see Emil go this direction. Likely we'll follow it up with critical strike after the fact.
I think he needed the Ichabal to keep up in terms of boxing potential against Spudio. Spudio having that second ability on the Rom is a much larger steroid, and you don't have to knock yourself up for it. If Emil knocks himself up in front of Spudio, you're normally eating at least two. Two minimum, 3 to 4 possibly if he's got the steroid propped at that time. And I like the Ichabal here solely because of the fact that he is against another attack speed hunter.
So you mentioned the attack speed hunter, and there is no crit punishment on the side of NRG. I think for a lot of folks at home, the current carry build, the current hunter build is build crit if they're not going to stop me, and if they do, I guess I'll go into chins. Is that incorrect? Are they both equal? Is it dependent on the composition? Why do you think we see Spudio go into the Chinsai here?
Spudio goes to Chinsai because he has to deal with maniaKK and EmilZy, and chalking it up, Mousesports composition, it's not nearly as tanky. Sure, you've got Dardez on the Sylvanus, but Sylvanus probably one of the easier supports to take out. Even if you have crit, it doesn't really matter whether you have the attack speed and penetration or the crit. It's just, you know Sylvanus is never going to buy Thorns. It's not even really all that ideal to go for the Nemean, which is why we see Dardez opting for that Midgardian instead, I believe, because Midgardian will actually give him a way to counteract it. Nemean, you want that for somebody who can be aggressive, and you don't get aggressive out of Sylvanus in that way. You get it for the setup.
Very, very true. Easy Pyro goes to NRG. No real contest there, but no contest on the left side tier 1, so NRG lose a tier 1 tower, traded out for a Pyromancer, which mathematically lines up. 500 gold for each of them, so no big deal there, no problem. A little bit of a buff coming out of the base. Whatever, dude.
I'd rather have the T1.
Yeah, same.
I think the T1 tower's a little bit of a better pickup for Mouse here. Because sure, you don't get that freebie sprint straight out of base, but you get the map pressure, and that's going to go a lot further for Mouse than a Pyromancer. And I also really like that Mouse chose to not even really contest the Pyromancer, sort of understanding if we get this T1 tower, it's pretty much the same thing anyway in terms of experience and gold.
Thoth is going to outbeat virtually every single character when it comes to objective confirm. I think you make an argument for Vulcan, you make an argument for Ra, but Thoth is going to outdo most of these characters when it comes to putting the last hit, excuse me, on the objective. Now Yammyn's ultimate is up again. So Mouse going for this is dangerous, but they grab Emil, knock him up, bring him down to about 70%. Adapting drops to Fear No Evil. Players walk in different directions, but Mouse pick up the gold Dorian. So no harm, no foul. Yammyn flipped up, Suns flipped down. Spicy BigManTingz putting Yammyn in the ground. Mousesports watch as they are on the chase. Gold Fury in their direction. Middle lane in their direction. maniaKK could also be there. Blink forward. Beautiful play again by Dardez. P.S. Cherryo with the 1 versus 2 on the other side of the team fight takes the hunter down with him. 3 players dead on the side of NRG. Mouse with the lone dead jungler, but he did his job there, Taco. Gold Fury, mine. Solo, mid, and hunter, mine. Tier 1 mid, mine. And Mouse trying to say the same about tier 2.
They've just got to keep this going right now. Dardez making the smart play, taking the tower as long as possible, and well, that's all the time that Mouse needed with 2 hunters. More than easy trying to confirm 2 towers before everybody from NRG that died manages to respawn. And just, you can tell from the damage numbers alone, pretty much a 3,400 disparity between these 2 teams. I just, that burst that came forward from Mouse, just highlighting the weaknesses and NRG's lack of an early game.
Adapting and Cherryo are 2 very prime examples of the difference between a high damage jungler and a high control jungler right now. Batz can do heavy damage. You can see the hi-rez Lament being built, the Transcendence being built. Adapting wants to be the assassin Batz, don't get me wrong. But the damage he's doing with just the Fear No Evil is pennies. It's not really talking about anything. Cherryo, on the other hand, is absolutely destroying these players with the simple combo. You can see how close they are in damage right here. But let's be real. Cherryo didn't do any damage to anybody until very recently. So all of that damage came all together at once. BigManTingz has been spread over the course of the game. So the control was there for NRG, but Mouse just brought the damage.
Speaking of control, it's going to be Mouse pulling this Fire Giant already. NRG have to know this is happening. EmilZy going to get tossed up and served to the entirety of Mouse, and there go the Suns as Nika's trying to make sure that EmilZy goes down.
Cherryo helps out the solo and picks up one, but he goes down right after the Fear No Evil. Adapting's still alive, but his ultimate is down. 4-on-4. EmilZy and Cherryo both on the bench. Now Mouse lacking the damage from their jungler, still surging forward because NRG don't have the front line that they once did. That said, Mouse still thinking about the Fire Giant, but I think they would be better off backing off, and that is what they'll eventually do.
They'll accept the 1-for-1 trade out, although it's probably still NRG's to take because they lose EmilZy, but Mouse lose they're secure, I think, for the Fire Giant, which is why they essentially have to back off. You're not going to be able to contest Thoth's Final Judgment, and Yammyn's at that. emilitoo gonna have to dash away with that agility from Nika's pluck, but it's all about maniaKK looking to punish Nika for overextending.
Definitely a force. Tier 1 tower on the right-hand side goes down. Mouse playing very aggressive. You know, it's interesting. I don't like that play, and NRG gonna make it look even worse as they punish Mouse by pushing up onto the Tier 1 tower themselves. Cerberus in the wings. This Tier 1 going to go down nice and easy to NRG. Mouse still do have the lead despite the 500 gold going in their direction. 2,500 NRG in a deficit.
But this is NRG with a level 20 Guan now, and it's only going to get worse for Mouse from here on out, Tom. Those earlier issues that we were concerned about, it might not seem like that big of a difference. 4 minutes from before to this moment now, but 4 minutes is a heck of a long time when it comes to MOBAs, and Smite especially. A lot of the members from NRG now starting to get some of the more ideal itemization online. emilitoo even feeling as though the chin size more of a necessary pickup than the crit choices.
Yeah, I saw him do that as well, and oh man, I don't know if I straight up agree.
Such
a
agree.
squishy team on Mouse. Like I said, I mean, you are the carry expertise.
The only reason I agree is because if emilitoo is building into this, it means that he feels like he isn't doing enough damage.
He's
currently.
also going the Titan's Bane, which also the same mentality. He doesn't feel like he's doing enough damage. But the question I pose is he not doing enough damage because the build is keeping him back, or is he not doing enough damage because he's so afraid of getting in range and dying?
Well,
that's the thing. We watched him once get close, and he got knocked up and knocked down. So,
speaking of which, looks like follow-up is coming out on adapting Forge Shell, but Spudio's still going to connect with all 3 Astral Barrages.
What a play. The team backs him up. The Doubleune for Spudio in the Smite Pro League. Love to see these minor league players perform like that. That right there was a confidence call from Mouse. You've played on a competitive squad. That's the knockup happens, and we get some poke, and Spudio goes, I'm ulting. I have this, guys. And the team says, fine. Dardez blinks forward, gets the control. Fire Giant goes the way of Mouse. That is Mouse showing confidence in their rookie carry, and I am all about it. Love it, Taco. Absolutely love it.
My favorite part about all of it, though, was just Mouse. As soon as Spudio goes up into the air and they realize what's happening, they immediately look to take out that shell health that adapting had just been applied with. So really excellent gameplay overall from Mouse there.
And that's, oh man, that's what I mean, because we know that these guys can play Smite. We shove that down your guys' faces all the time. All 6 teams in each region are better than everybody you know at Smite, period, end of story. And we see Cherryo trounced people. We see BigManTingz with the triple bounces, right? We've seen this. But sometimes what we don't see out of Mouse is that trust, is that interconnectivity between the squad, right? And I can't reiterate, as soon as Spudio hits 4, as soon as he ults, Dardez and Cherryo go, oh, this is what we're doing? And they surge forward, and they just trust that Spudio's going to hit everything. Dardez sets it up, Cherryo sets it up, sure, but just complete trust in the squad to do what they're supposed to, which sounds easier than it actually is.
For what it's worth, though, as strong as Mouse have looked and been able to overcome even some of the counter initiation moments from NRG, it's still a Thoth composition. It's still a Thoth team, and trying to siege against Yammyn, of all people, piloting the Thoth. This is not going to be a free one for Mouse. It doesn't matter if you take every single tower on the map. Unless you have those Phoenixes and the Titan, NRG are still going to bite back.
maniaKK, Adapting, and Yammyn all have and emilZy all have selections that are fantastic at playing defense. Stygian, Torment, and Fear No Evil are two of the best options for playing D. Having a guy with a heal on a, let's look at the build, roughly a 0-second cooldown is also really nice for defending your stuff. And Yammyn, the artillery machine, just sitting back and shooting mortars like he's got a trebuchet. I mean, that's NRG are sitting here going, we are totally down. NRG are just waiting for Mouse to make a mistake, kill them, walk up the mid lane, and win the game.
And so the big thing here is also just the fact that Mouse's jungle team fight probably way more favorable than NRG's. NRG's has a lot of really finicky ultimates in terms that you don't want them getting cut off by like parts of the wall or like segments of narrow corridors. And there are some nice spots for those Fear No Evils. And Adapting has utilized them pretty efficiently, but in comparison to Mouse's zoning control in the jungle, NRG's draft doesn't really offer the same amounts, but this part of the control could go a long way. That's if maniaKK doesn't already die.
Oh, the ultimate. Spudio, have you got it? He's got one, he's got two. But the solo lane has the shell. Adapting knocked up, loses half of his HP. The pull into the pluck into the left side Phoenix is the focus. Dardez goes to the ultimate, not going to be pretty there. Still an ultimate available for BigManTingz and Cherryo, both of which will delete a player. Nika has to scurry on out. Left side Phoenix still alive. Sun's dropped. I don't like that one. BMT tried to zone players out. And there's the Fear No Evil. maniaKK gets the kill off of the amazing ultimate from Adapting. Patience is a virtue, and Adapting a virtuoso. Great job from the Jungle Hood Batz.
Mouse are the ones who have to throw themselves out there if they want to look to take this game off of NRG. They've pretty much followed every single part of the pathway to success in this game. It's just closing it out is never going to be easy against this Batz Thoth sync.
It is really rough. If you are looking for Mouse, a positive there is that Cherryo didn't use the ultimate, which sounds odd, but if Cherryo uses the ultimate at any point that was presented on that left side rush, he dies, right? And I would much rather have the consistent knockups from a distance than Cherryo die immediately. Unless he's trading out with Yammyn or Adapting pre-Fear No Evil, I don't want Cherryo using that ultimate and dive in the back line because his loss is going to be more impactful than whoever he kills.
How crazy do you think it'd be if Cherryo were to just blink in and ult, like, back
from
he'd be like ulting towards his team, and then immediately after you've got Dardez blinking in with the knockup on Sylvanus, so Cherryo definitely lives.
That's the magical Christmas land play. That's what everybody's hoping for. And NRG are doing a great job of spreading out and making sure that doesn't happen. And Cherryo, well, will have to use the ultimate defensively, so emilZy will make sure that he doesn't happen.
No.
BigManTingz goes down. Spudio goes down. Nika jumped on. Where's the overhand smash? Right there. The double kill for King Kenneth. And that's the mistake that Mousesports needed to make. NRG taking tier 2, going to look towards the Phoenix and possibly the Titan. I said earlier, Taco, they was just waiting for Mousesports to slip up, and that's what they did, man. Rough.
NRG are just such an experienced and veteran team. I cannot fault Mouse too much for that because, I mean, Mouse are still pros, and I'm sure that they're probably kicking themselves watching this one back because I know for a fact that they're always going to have to look back on it. But kudos to them for that early to mid, man. They really gave NRG a run for their money.
I mean, that's, look, Mousesports are still in the lead as their Titan falls. NRG take this one over. 34-24 on the clock. And at the end of the day, I mean, this was realistically NRG just going, look, bud, we're waiting for you to make the mistake, slipped out, and we'll take the victory. Mouse did a great job of running that game. Also, by the way, with a brand new team member. I have to say, despite the loss, Taco, I love what I saw.
Spudio looked fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, he was already doing some pretty impressive stuff in the SML, and now moving on up to the big leagues, it's almost like he was here to begin with. He fit right in, it felt, with that Mouse roster, and I am definitely way more impressed than what I thought I would be watching Spudio's transition from minor into the pro level, but it is only game one, so that's always bound to change. And emilitoo was on a bit more of a passive pick with that Jing Wei.
Sure.
I am curious to see if Spudio can continue to maintain this level of success.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Paul came in with a bang. All these minor league players seem to step into the league really strongly. Hopefully they can continue, because like I said, it's just exciting to see the new players kind of step on up. Let us know in Mixer Chat who you think the most valuable player was there. I mean, it's Mouse lost the game for themselves. I don't know who you pick on NRG, but that's why it's not my job. Hindu, aggro, break it down.
Yeah, we'll try to, for the best of our ability. Main thing to really mention there, aggro, is probably Hun Batz. We mentioned it in Picks and Bans, and it was a game-winning play.
Man, a brutal loss here for Mousesports, isn't it? They're in control for, how long was this game? 34 minutes?
Yeah.
They were in control for 33 and a half minutes.
5 young on the waist, like
they're in such a great spot, but they're sieging that left side Phoenix. What stops that from working? Adapting's Hun Batz ultimate. Then everyone from Mousesports just funnels in to a tiny little corridor on top right next to that blue buff, and the Fear No Weevil just obliterated them there. I mean, that is a tough loss to take for Mousesports.
Well, it will be adapting with the MVP vote there. No real surprise, because that was a game-winning play in itself, these Fear No Evils that came up big. In fairness, Mouse looked great. I can't take it away from Mouse here. Mouse looked really good, and it's a really tough pill to swallow losing that game, in fairness. Dardez on point with the pulls throughout that game. It's good to see him back in the Guardian. Spudio fit right in, doing his job. I don't think he over the top stood out. I think he just did his duty, and that's what you need from it.
And that's all you need, exactly. That's basically all that needs to happen from your hunter. You don't. Not every player needs to be the runaway star, and I think that really does fall to the wayside a bit, especially when it comes to the hunter position. Everyone feels like you've got to be getting quadra kill after quadra kill. It's really not the case. I mean, you can make a really good career at the SPL level out of just being in the right position, killing the objectives, and getting the kills you should be getting kills on. You can be a really top-tier player like that, and I think Spudio did a great job in this game.
Well, I do think at the same time, though, energy, you needed a bit of a rub of the green now and again. You got to get a little bit lucky, and in that game specifically, I think they came up big, more so not luck because it was skill involved, but they were down for such a large portion.
If that game from NRG happens against Dignitas or Rival or even Obey right now, they lose.
Yeah, definitely.
You could see that Mousesports is right on the cusp, but they're getting there. This team was absolutely getting better, and they're really fun to watch, but they just aren't over the hump quite yet.
Take into account this with a new member, Spudio, just joined this roster. That's another big talking point.